Well, would you look at that? It's the Warren Hayes show. What's going on? It must be Monday night then. There must have been an episode of Monday Night Raw, and since Mr. Warren Hayes is right here, right now, in front of you, well then, golly gee willikers, we're all convening to talk about, or to listen to me talk about, WWE Raw for October 15, 2018. Woo, folks. Thank you so much for dropping by. That's so kind of you. So wonderful. So fantastic. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you decided to check out today's video. I am really, really happy that you're here. And I'm suddenly, all of a sudden, really itchy in the pectoral area. I'm going to start off today's episode with some ASMR. All right. Folks, we are there tonight. Raw tonight. Let's go through some, let's talk about a few other things before we actually get into Raw, because tonight it was, sometimes, you hear the expression, you're going to hitch your wagon to something or someone. And man, sometimes I'm like, I'm so glad that I do wrestling commentary and stuff because it's really fun, and I like hitching my wagon to it. But tonight I felt like, the vehicle carrying my wagon was like going up a steep hill with barely, and the vehicle didn't have gas. It wasn't gas operated. It was like operated by goats pulling the vehicle, like goats pulling a pickup truck, pulling my that I have my wagon attached to. That was a convoluted metaphor, but you get it. Just as much as you know that tomorrow is SmackDown Live 1000. You get that. That'll be fun. SmackDown is a bit of a bright spot, isn't it? Looking forward to that. Now the cool thing here, I'm going to be pulling double duty. Double duty tomorrow. Not only am I going to do my usual thing here on the Warren Hayes YouTube channel that you can find at tinyurl.com/Mr. Warren Hayes, but I will also be joining Sean Ross Sapp and Alex Pulowski over on the mothership Fightful.com, as they do a SmackDown, they do Raw and SmackDown recaps every week as well. And they've invited me tomorrow to join them for the SmackDown 1000 recap extravaganza. They wanted to make it a little more special, so why don't you invite your boy Warren, right? That'll put butts in the seats. But actually, I'm really, really excited to head over there. The last time I was on a Fightful.com podcast, I hosted them. Sean was absent, so it'll be good to be like in the analyst / color seat. It'll be fun. Alex is a cool guy. Sean always has fantastic insight. This is going to be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. And then after, I'll do my SmackDown review here for the channel. You gotta keep that consistency going, folks. That's important. So make sure that right after SmackDown that you join us over on Fightful.com. It'll be fantastic. And then on Wednesday, as you all know by now, if you're watching this show, I do an NXT 205 Live Mae Young Classic recap show. Now, this is different than Fightful.com. Fightful.com, if you haven't been properly introduced, is a fantastic, premier, numero uno combat sports news website, pro wrestling, MMA, boxing. It's all covered there. Head to FightfulWrestling.com. You get all your wrestling news all nice in a nice little bow. And that's actually where you will be able to easily find the podcast, the recap show that I am going to be in on. And then on top of that, en plus, there's FightfulSelect.com, which is Fightful's premium service, subscription service that you can sign up for, and then you get a ton of extra wrestling-related content. You get a bunch of members-only podcasts, such as Sean Ross Sapp, managing editor. He does a weekly roundup of all the wrestling news. He covers non-WWE programming, such as Impact, Lucha Underground, NWA, Ring of Honor. It's all covered there. Being the Elite, 12 Pounds of Gold, Injury Report. He covers news. There's a whole bunch of things. He does that every week. I do the NXT 205 Live recap show. We have retro reviews, retro pay-per-view reviews that you can take a look there. Those are always a lot of fun. Go check it out. FightfulSelect.com. It starts as low as $5 a month, and you support Fightful. You support a great up-and-coming independent news site that is absolutely fantastic. Ran by amazing people, ethical, smart, handsome folks, beautiful folks, beautiful people. I like to be associated with beautiful people, which is one of the reasons, by the way, that I accepted an invitation to head to participate on the Wilfred Watches podcast this weekend. I don't know if you've heard of Wilfred Watches, or perhaps you've heard of NJPWUS. Those are two podcasts created by the same guy, and I have there's stickers here. I have stickers of NJPW and Wilfred Watches. And let me give you a close-up. Wilfred sent me a bunch of them. NJPWUS and Wilfred Watches. Together, they combine to be the exact same person who does those shows. But on the Wilfred Watches podcast, it was really cool. We did chatting with Wilfred over the internet, and we decided to do together a watch along of an old wrestling match that was found that I came across on New Japan World. It was an old match from 1981 between Andre the Giant and Stan Hansen, which was a ridiculously fun brawl. So we provided basically some commentary over it. We got some history in there. It's a lot of fun. It's short though. Like, the match is about 17 minutes. We banter overall for about 30 minutes. It's a great show. Go check it out. Wilfred Watches. You can follow him on Twitter at NJP. No, Wilfred. Well, you can follow him at both here. Wilfred Watches and NJPWUS. That rolls off the tongue. Wilfred Watches. And Wilfred is such a cool guy. You can find him on all your over here. You can follow him on all your typical podcast platforms, because he's an actual podcast as opposed to I, who am just a YouTube pretender. So go check that out. That was a lot of fun. And subscribe to his stuff. Follow him on Twitter. Say hello. Love you, Wilfred. And you know what else I love? I love bold predictions. Every week, I go on the Twitter just before a main roster WWE show, and I ask my timeline. I say, timeline, bestow upon my grateful crown your most bold predictions for tonight's WWE programming. Tonight was Raw, so of course I headed out to Twitter to check out some predictions, and I got some cool A-grade quality, cordon bleu, fantastic, absolutely la creme de la creme as far as bold predictions go. I've built them up enough. Let's just jump in, take a look at them. What do we got? We got Melissa V, who, so very topical in her prediction goes, Austin Aries challenges Reigns, as in Roman, for the Universal title with a run-in from Jericho, followed by a remote promo video by the Young Bucks. There's just so much boldness here. So much boldness. On the topic of Austin Aries, this is it's not an Impact podcast, and I wasn't watching Impact last night. I was watching an upcoming retro review pay-per-view that Sean and I have scheduled over at for FightfulSelect.com. So I was finishing up watching that. So I didn't watch Bound for Glory, but I did get a chance to peep at the final events with this controversial conclusion with Austin Aries. I still think it's a work. I think it's a well-planned work. I think the boys are being worked. Look, this is my comment. This is, and I'm going to leave it as this. If it's not a work, then it's awful, and Austin Aries is awful. But if it is a work, it's just awful, and everyone involved is awful. It doesn't look good on anyone. This is the kind of work shoots. This is WCW era work shoots, people. Nobody ends up looking good in those. But Melissa, thank you very, very much for your super bold prediction. No, but don't fade out, machine. Why aren't you? Can you just switch? Just switch. There we go. The Velveteen Scream, my buddy C. Danny Mac from the Undisputed podcast, the Undisputed Era podcast, who covers NXT and who should be popping back soon on the Warren Hayes show once we get over, once we start inching ever so closer to NXT War Games. We're probably going to have a prediction show together. The Velveteen Scream says his bold prediction is that they actually build the Evolution All Women's pay-per-view with some importance, so bold that you can argue that it was done, but in a very wishy-washy kind of way. Maybe we'll talk about it in a short bit. The Meat Boys come at us with a bold prediction. Vince puts his emergency crown jewel storyline in motion, and a Saudi wrestler invades Raw, takes out the Shield, and steals the title, so the whole male locker room has to go to Saudi Arabia to avenge their honor, PR 101 Big Vince style. That is very, very bold, but I like it. I can dig it. I think this is a good. I would actually be behind this more. No, I wouldn't. But the storyline would be fun. I wouldn't be supportive of Crown Jewel regardless in Saudi Arabia. But it's a good storyline. Good job, Meat Boys. Casper the Friendly Fuck Girl? All right. Well, I'm not monetized, so it doesn't matter. The Shield's music plays, and through the crowd walks Tama Tonga and his band of merry men, also known as the Bullet Club. And they have an amazing match with the new stable formed of Vince, Shane, and Stephanie McMahon. That is so bold. That is bold levels of terrible. That is bad, but bold. Which is why I decided to feature it. Good job, Casper, and how friendly you may be. The Fifth Doctor, with a very simple one. Hulk Hogan joins DX tonight. Ooh. I like it. That'd flip people on their heads. That'd just, we'd stop talking about Austin Aries like that, man. Good job. Jacob but spookier. Our buddy over at Crash Idol. He's been here before. Ambrose attacks the Shield. Strowman, Ziggler, and McIntyre try to welcome him into the group, but he attacks them too. He then announces that he is the newest member of the Riot Squad, and I like that. It's just perfectly ridiculous. but in a way it works, in a very lunatic fringe way. It would work. I kind of want that to happen. Very bold, but also very cool. And finally, Mike Baker comes to us with this gem. Stephanie, frustrated with both Kurt and Baron, relieves Baron of his constable status and Kurt of his GM duty and announces Matt Hardy as general manager and Woken Matt as constable. Now that is something that I could get behind. That'd be fantastic. Schizophrenic Matt Hardy taking over Raw, but handling different duties and under different titles. That is fantastic. Good job, Mike. Great job, everyone. Thank you to everyone who always jumps in with their bold predictions. The bolder, the better are your chances to end up filling up some time on the Warren Hayes Show. All right. Let's jump into this. What would be the word? This cake of tedium. It's like a great big cake that you serve to everyone, but it takes so long to serve, and the portions are, so out of control. Maybe grandma gets a really big piece while cousin Eddie gets a smaller one, while Auntie Stephanie gets a few crumbs. And then everyone sort of tries to chew it, and you realize that, it's not cooked all the way through. The icing's not buttercream. It's more like fondant the whole way through, and it just makes everyone really sick to their stomachs because too much fondant isn't good. Should we talk about... I don't really feel like talking about Raw. I don't know if you could tell. We could talk about so many other things right now. But no, you guys are here to talk about Raw. And I'm kidding. I do want to talk about it because I have an opinion. Right, focus, Warren. The Dogs of War are in the ring. They go to the ring. They have microphones, and they basically not say much for the longest amount of time ever. They replay Dean Ambrose. Look, the highlight here is basically that they replay Dean Ambrose being mad last week and wondering where he, does he fit into any place anymore, and, being all broody. And basically they're saying, we didn't just beat the Shield, we broke the Shield last week. All right. Dolph and Drew do some friendly squabbling as to who's better because they have qualifying matches coming out. Then the Shield comes out, but only 2/3. Roman and Seth come out. The Shield is alive and great and everything's cool. And they say, Dean's not here right now, but Dean does whatever Dean wants. He arrives. He's on lunatic time, so he comes whenever he's ready. So yeah. So basically this basically just adds a little more fuel to the fire for the rest of the evening. And it basically sets this match, the first match up, or at least gets things going, because Baron Corbin comes out and says, all right, does the Baron come out? No, he doesn't come out. But basically, it doesn't matter. The match just happens after this. Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre, the World Cup qualifier to become the World Cup, the best World Cup representative of the World Cup, best of the world in the cup, which potentially could contain only Americans. USA. Drew is in control for the better part of this first match. He goes for a powerbomb, which is reversed into a Rana by Seth. Sends Drew to the outside. Seth goes for a dive, but Drew stops him and hits a belly-to-belly suplex on the outside. Good thing Drew lifts that. He wants to toss Seth into the ring structure right? That holds the ring up, like that metal, those metal girders under the ring, that keep the ring hoisted. Damn good thing he lifted the ring apron before tossing Seth into there, because by golly, that amount of cloth could have definitely cushioned much more the impact that Seth Rollins would have had. It must have hurt so much more. And then what happens? Not only is there pain, but then you feel the cold of the steel. So it's not only the impact of your body against steel, but it's that moment where, ooh, this is cold. And that's psychological warfare. That's tossing someone out of their element. Best spot of the night happens when Seth gets Drew up on the top turnbuckle, and Seth hits his superplex, goes for his Falcon Arrow spot, but it's not him who hits the Falcon Arrow, but it's Drew, having scouted Seth Rollins out perfectly, hits the Falcon Arrow instead. That was cool. Seth hits an Enziguri counter, the Claymore. Dolph comes down and distracts, he tosses Drew to the outside, dives on Dolph, dives on Drew. Back in the ring, Dolph messes up the stomp, but Dean comes out, and Seth stomps Drew on the outside, rolls into the ring to beat the count. Guys, Seth Rollins is heading into the World Cup to determine who is the best of the world in the cup for the World Cup. The WWE Cup of World. But what I would like to underscore here is, once again, Drew McIntyre has not been pinned. This doesn't happen very often, ladies and pals. Not like the ladies are not my pals. I shouldn't have said that. I have as many friends that are women or men, and ladies and gals and pals. No, that doesn't even work. It rhymes, but it doesning have the same intention. Friends. There, how about that for a welcoming, all-encompassing way for me to include everyone, and regardless of gender too. Friends. Let us focus on the fact here. Oh man, this is very therapeutic what I'm doing right now, because I thought Raw was so tough to go through. This is making me feel good. It's important to underscore here that, again, they're protecting Drew McIntyre. Not anyone can pin this guy. And I'm not complaining. This is good. It's a good thing what they're doing. We see the Shield backstage. They're hanging around. They're doing stuff. And Seth, they're happy. And Seth talks to Dean about lunatic time. And Dean takes offense. Doesn't like it. What a snowflake. We have a recap of the DX reunion when the Brothers of Destruction have a Boiler Room promo. I was half expecting Mankind to pop out at some point. Commentary, by the way, the entire evening, were being very, very careful with their words. Very careful wording. We were talking about Crown Jewel during the entire evening. That was fine. But they didn't mention the venue. They didn't talk about Saudi Arabia. Now, I know some people on Twitter are taking this as a sign that they might cancel it. I see it as a sign of them just patting themselves, just in case that they just want to change, maybe not cancel the event, but pull it out of Saudi Arabia and place it somewhere else. Well, then this is just them, we'll just keep the Saudi Arabia thing away, and then we'll see what we do with the venue. Man, I would not want to be in Stanford right now. The mood in the office must be a shitty. Anyway, so that was interesting it hit me at some point. I was actually waiting for someone to mess up and say Saudi Arabia, but it didn't happen. Next, we have Ember Moon and Nia Jax versus Dana Brooke and Tamina. Tamina, who, thanks to a Twitter user who pointed this out to me, because I don't remember who, but full credit to, you can find it on my timeline, folks. Because I posited the question I asked, Tamina is on Raw. What is she doing here? Who was traded to SmackDown? And said Twitter user pointed out, must be Big Show. There you go. Big Show was traded to Raw, to SmackDown for Tamina. Tamina lost weight. She really dropped a lot of weight. And for the small amount of time she was in this match, she looked really good. She tried to pick up Nia Jax a couple of times. Nia being the unstoppable force. It's not unstoppable. Indomitable? No. What is irresistible? The irresistible force. She's very difficult to pick up, but she does. And when she finally does, Tamina hits a nice Samoan drop. It's a good one. She can cover, though, and I didn't get the psychology of this, or regardless, the psychology, or she doesn't cover because the Samoan drop took so much out of her. She had to tag out to Dana. Jax then makes it to Ember Moon, who eclipses Dana Brooke for the win. And then the stupid starts. Or someone's flipped the stupid switch. Tamina comes back in to challenge Jax in the ring, and I'm down for this because Tamina really looked to be in her element, and that was fantastic. She pushes Ember. She super kicks Jax with a super nice super kick. And then everyone starts tossing each other over the top rope. Even good buddies Ember Moon helped Tamina toss Nia Jax over the top rope. Then Dana Brooke tossed everyone over the top rope. Why? Why were they doing this? Oh, to remind us how battle royals work? God damn it. I know how a battle royal works by now. Everyone does. This didn't make sense. Why did they start throwing each other over the top rope? Why? This was dumb. Dumb. Okay, they were doing it because during the match they announced a women's battle royal at Evolution. But at this stage in the game, we don't need to be reminded of the rules. All right? This is different than when Kevin Owens earlier this year was getting his point across on Braun Strowman that for his SummerSlam match that he could beat and win the Money in the Bank briefcase from Braun in multiple ways, right? He could count him out, disqualification, so he'd go at it just to remind us and to play some mind games with Braun as well. This makes sense. Here, this doesn't make sense. Everyone knows how a battle royal works. This was just stupid. They just started, blah. And here's another stupid thing. Asuka's in this women's battle royal. Are you telling me, for real now, that WWE had nothing for Asuka? Nothing? That pisses me off. Nothing for one of their premier women's athletes and who has built a legend within WWE. And right up until we saw Sasha Banks earlier this evening, because I figured that Sasha was injured and probably wouldn't be at Evolution since There's basically been no build up at all, and so I was figuring, okay, well, it's not going to happen, I was actually thinking, I was like, you know what would be really cool? You know what? Maybe WWE is going to treat us, give us a little winky dink, a little nudgy. Maybe they're going to give us, Asuka versus Bayley 3. 2 fantastic matches those ladies had in NXT, and Asuka has 2 wins over Bayley. I would have been completely okay with Bayley getting one on Asuka. Bayley definitely would have needed it, and we would have been in for a great time. Oh, I am so disappointed at this stage in Evolution. I'm still going to watch it, and I'm still going to dig it, and I'm still going to harp on how important it is. But I am so disappointed. They talk about how the Bella Rousey stuff has been covered in the media, and it's really hard. It's really hard to not feel cynical towards WWE these days. With the Saudi Arabia thing, with the Bella and Rousey thing, which is so obviously a marketing ploy, some crossover potential here from their from the wrestling to their reality TV productions. The thing here, and this, I've said this before here and on other shows that have invited me and care to listen to my opinion, but I've even on Twitter, WWE does not perceive itself anymore as a wrestling promotion. It is a media company. It wants to create content, and whenever there are opportunities for its content to cross over into each other, well, then they will take full advantage of that. I think it's cynical what they're doing in regards to putting Ronda Rousey and Nikki Bella up into such a prominent position on the Evolution card, because they know that because they know that the extra mainstream attention that will gather will be able to cross over not only onto WWE programming, but on the Bella's stuff as well. And it's so blatant. It's really, that's the thing, is that it's so overt and shameless. That's what bothers me most here in this particular situation. Now there's rumors that that Rousey and Nikki Bella is going to be the main event. Ow. Maybe I'll talk about that when it's time to talk about predictions for Evolution. But right now, this is one of the things that just sucked the air out of the room for me. This whole one of these women's segments that they had early on in the first hour, or leading into the second hour. It really, I thought it was exhausting, and it chipped at my goodwill. It just chipped away how they felt that the ladies had to explain to us remind us what the rules of a battle royal was. I was like, what? Stop thinking that we're complete idiots, WWE. Stop underestimating your audience. Give Asuka something interesting. This is awful what they're doing with her. And then the Bellas and Ronda Rousey segment. But listen, look here. Ronda comes to the ring, right? She has a microphone. She wants an explanation, right? So the Bellas come out. They say, we don't owe you an explanation. Brie Bella says this is show business, not friends business. Show business is exactly what she said. No, it's sports entertainment. It's WWE. It's wrestling. No, it's show business. Again, just to show you the mindset of how WWE sees itself now. The Bellas go on about stuff about the diva name, and I have never been a fan of Nikki nor Brie as far as their promo work goes. They have always come across as phony, just delivering their lines. And this was peak Bella promo right here. Peak. Ronda, though, tonight cut her most remarkable promo work since coming into WWE. Whoever wrote her lines may have gone a little overboard with the thesaurus at some points. Otherwise, I thought she did a fantastic job. She was spitting fire. She was great. She says, I thought you guys were my friends, but it turns out you were just desperate for camera attention. How far you guys went with such a minimal amount of talent boggles my mind. I don't remember exactly that, but with how far you guys went with such minimal talent. And you leached off the names of your men, which got a huge reaction from the Philly crowd. This is, by the way, the biggest reactions that the Philly crowd gave tonight were right here. The Bellas respond, and honestly, I don't. It doesn't matter what Nikki Bella has to say. It doesn't resonate. It's contrived. But again, she starts talking about how she had to knock down doors. Ronda says she's been breaking down doors all her life in judo, Strikeforce, UFC, and now in my home. What a nice touch. And now in my home, WWE. The only door you broke down, Nikki, was to John Cena's bedroom. And everyone's like, oh. And now he's kicked you out of it. Ooh. You can tell Vince McMahon was having a great time with this. This was a harsh rib on John Cena. Right up until we get proven that their separation, that Nikki and John's separation is a work, and then they get back together for the next season of Total Bellas. I don't want to be too cynical, but WWE doesn't surprise me anymore. Anyway, so the segment ends with the Bellas coming to fight Ronda, but instead they bring out a security team. And Ronda starts beating up everyone. Icarus from Chikara Pro, by the way, local Philadelphia promotion, excellent promotion that you guys should be checking out. I'm subscribed to their Chikara Topia service, their streaming service. Lots of great stuff there. Should check that out. He was one of the security guys pointed out by Sean Ross Sapp. That was fantastic. I was glad to see that. But Ronda basically murders the guys with all sorts of throws. Good segment. Like I said, I think Ronda pulled out this was exceptional, what she did tonight. Segment was too long. Had it been shorter, punchier, but Ronda on the same level of energy, the same level of earnestness that she was conveying, it would have been much, 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 much better. Oh, but the heel Bellas are so good. No. I don't like the Bellas on the mic. I never did. And they have given me no reason to care for them more, to care for their mic work more. Bobby Roode and Chad Gable are backstage with Kurt Angle, who's on vacation. He's got a straw hat. He's got a Hawaiian shirt on. Bobby Roode says, the shirt is glorious, of course. No, he goes to say the shirt is glorious, but Chad Gable says glorious instead. And Rude's patience is starting to crack. You can tell. You can tell. Bobby Roode is just about ready to take that kid out. Just like that. Just you wait till Crown Jewel is done. No Way Jose appears with the conga line at some point, and Kurt is happy. And then Baron Corbin comes in and he says, well, you think you're pretty smart, lastly getting yourself into the Battle Royal, right? Cute guy, smart guy, Kurt Angle. Getting you not into the into the Battle Royal, and then qualifying. Well, guess what? You haven't wrestled in 12 years, so you're going to need a warm-up tonight. I'm going to give you a match. It's a handicap match against the AOP. Next, we have Dolph Ziggler versus Dean Ambrose. Dean is in control to start. And when this match hits, I'm like, okay, what's the main event then? Is it going to be Kurt versus AOP? Like, what's the main event at this point? So, just so that you know what's going on through my brain. Dean is in control to start. Dolph hits a neck breaker and goes into a cover for one. Dean Ambrose telling Dolph, what the hell are you doing, sir? Dean catches Dolph's crossbody into a fallaway slam. That was cool. Dolph does a top rope face slam to Dean, or face cracks him on his knee. Not quite sure what that was. Dean front suplexes Dolph onto the top rope. He gets Dolph into a cloverleaf at some point. We have some top rope shenanigans that lead to Dean slamming Dolph off the top rope. Then Drew comes in. He distracts Dean, but then Seth runs in to help. So he and Drew start trading fisticuffs on the outside. But Dean jumps off the top rope. Instead of jumping onto Dolph, focusing on what's happening in the ring with Dolph, he decides to do a flying axe handle off the top turnbuckle to the outside onto Drew McIntyre. He shoves Seth away. It's pulled across. It's been conveyed as an accident. I don't think it was that accident. It was really like, I don't need your help, Seth. I can do this on my own. But as Dean gets back in the ring, he eats a super kick, and Dolph wins. Seth comes in and gives Dean smoldering stares. Seth asks him, what's your problem? What's going on? Dean shoves Seth out of the way, but Seth isn't going anywhere. He's not letting this happen that way. He heads up to the ramp following Dean, and he confronts him. They start pushing each other. Roman comes in between the both of them to keep them from fighting. Out comes Baron Corbin. Oh, you guys still having problems? Yeah? Well, I'm still having problems too. I'm having problems booking proper main events because, we're not building stars. We're just keeping the same people in rotation all the time, but we're not building any new stars. We don't have any real confidence in any single star. So, for the third time in 10 weeks, we're gonna give you the same main event, the Dogs of War versus the Shield. That's what we're gonna do. What are the stakes? There are no stakes. You just go ahead and fight, fellas. No. So that's essentially what we're getting. Again, since October 6th, we've seen this main event 3 times. Oy vey. Then we go backstage and we see that the Dogs of War are strategizing about breaking up the Shield, but it's not all cookies and roses and daffodils and puppies and goat's milk for for our friends in the Dogs of War. They're kind of mad at each other as well. Sorry, I got distracted. So basically, there we go. Not knowing exactly what's going on. Former Universal Champion Finn Balor versus former WWE Champion Jinder Mahal. Accompanied to the ring by their respective retinues. Oh, but let's point out here that Samir Singh is back, and that is fantastic news. I'm a little disappointed that Michael Cole sort of laughed it off. Who's back? I don't know. I think it's kind of sad because he did have a very significant injury. He's been rehabbing it for the better part of a year. I'm glad to see him back. That's good news, folks. Good news. There's not much to say about this match here. Glorified squash here. Finn hits a bunch of signature offense and gets a clean win on Jinder. And then Bobby Lashley comes out before Finn leaves the ring. Bobby Lashley is, of course, accompanied by Lio Rush, who's doing his hype man thing on the mic. Lashley comes in the ring and basically stares down Finn. Nothing happens. They don't come to blows. Leo says stuff. You want to be like him, so on and so forth. So, yeah. That cuts us. We go to commercial, and when we come back, Bobby Lashley is ready for his match, and his opponent is Tyler Breeze. And the first part of the match, the bell rings, and Lio Rush is basically telling Lashley to pose for the audience. Give them the money pose. So essentially, Bobby Lashley has now become Lex Luger, and I think I may start referring to him as Bobby Lexley. Again, not much of a match here. Very much a showcase match for. It's not even a showcase. It's literally a not exactly a squash, but yeah, it's kind of a squash. Breeze gets an enziguri in. But Lashley does the stalling suplex. Breeze battles back, but it doesn't matter. Lashley wins. That's it. We get the women's segment to hype Evolution. We have Lita and Trish come to the ring and they do a promo. Then Alexa and Mickie James interrupt them, and then they do the promo instead. They do the better part of the promo instead. Alexa talking about stuff, saying talking about stuff. Alexa basically saying that Mickie, you got to be not Mickie, but Trish, you have to be wary of Mickie James because she knows you so well, and oh boy, does she ever. Let's go back. Let's have a little look back at memory lane here, shall we? There we go. We all remember this from a certain era of wrestling. Yeah. Mickie James. She knows Trish Stratus quite well. In fairness, though, I mean, I remember reading that afterwards that Mickie James got a lot of backstage heat from management for doing this. But it was so good because it worked so well in the stalker angle. This was really Trish Stratus' shining moment. This feud was fantastic. It was really, really good. Anyway, I just had to play that off. So Lita and Trish, their response is to do the practice. What'd you call it? Promo? What'd you call that? Practice. It's all about practice. It was kind of tedious. I kind of felt like Lita was expecting a bigger response, considering that she was in ECW. But Lita was in ECW for like all the better part of 3 months? 4 months? Hang on a second here. We're going to pull this up. We're going to go take a look. Like they did mention it, that she was in ECW, but she wasn't there for very long. In early 1999, she was approached by Paul Heyman. Boop boop. After 5 months with ECW, she made her final appearance on October 20th. I mean, I wouldn't exactly call that. I wouldn't call her an Impact player in ECW. I mean, I think it's fine that most people probably don't even realize it, don't even remember it. No, maybe don't even care either. And this was a bit. This was a nothing segment where nothing happened. Nothing was said of value, and it was a little dull. And man, they have to. And when I say they, I mean WWE. They have to crank up this pay-per-view, the promotion, because right now the only thing that is really getting me hype, that is really making me want to tune in, is Charlotte and Becky going at it again in a last woman standing, right? That was the step. That's the only thing that's turning it into a nail biter for me. And I hope it doesn't disappoint, because man, everything else, whoo. And the Mae Young Classic final should be awesome. And Kairi Sane versus Shayna Baszler. That should be fun too. All right. Not just, but they have so many fantastic women on their roster. Bayley bumps into the Riot Squad, and the Riot Squad bully her with their obnoxious beanies. AOP versus Kurt Angle is next. Kurt Angle is in the ring in the Conquistador outfit, or is it Kurt Angle? No, you can tell it's not Kurt Angle from the get-go. But AOP come in and they dismantle him. I'm happy that they got Drake Maverick out of the My First Riot Gear kit. And then he has just like this matching green jacket on. See, that's what I said from the start. You just make him look a little more managerial. He doesn't have to look like the other two dudes' big little brother. This was a good move. Baron Corbin, who was at the top at the top of the ramp, he's like mad when he realized that it's not Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle comes out and hits an angle slam on Corbin. He obviously doesn't like Baron Corbin anymore. And he's still in his vacation outfit. How many over-under, folks? How many people are currently making in 2K19 vacation Kurt Angle? How many people? Over under 6,000. What do you think? Leave a comment. Say the thumbs up if you like vacation Kurt Angle. The highlight of this segment, honestly, was Corey Graves comparing Kurt Angle to Hunter S. Thompson, and everyone on commentary just lost their mind. They all muted their microphones because there was just like this nice moment of dead air. Ruby Riott versus Natalya. Natalya comes out and she has I have backup for this too. Bayley comes out for a second time, and Sasha Banks returns from injury purgatory. Good for her though. Never like to see wrestlers injured, taking time off to heal wounds. It's never good. Natalya goes right after Ruby Riott. Ruby hits an STO on Natalya. I think it's part of her standard offense now. Ruby goes for a head scissors, but Natalya just pushes her off and to the outside to the floor. Nat gets the sharpshooter in, but Sarah Logan comes in and clips her, forces the DQ. So good job, Natalya. You picked up a victory. The Riot Squad toss Bayley and Charlotte to the outside. They go to beat down Natalya, but the faces come back and they put a hurting on everyone. Bayley and Sasha hitting their combination backstabber into the Bayley to belly. And that was that. So I guess that's setting up another match for Evolution, a 6-women tag match. Not a lot of singles matches from the main roster, ladies. Got 2. You have Charlotte and Becky and Ronda and Nikki. Elias gets interrupted by Apollo Creed. Elias is taking offense to this, and he says, look, this is not the night that Elias is going to make a star out of you. Can Cruz cuts a semi-heartfelt promo saying, I've kept my temper down for too long, kept my mouth shut for too long, and seeing guys like you pass over me. My time is now. And by the way, he didn't come out to Titus Worldwide music. He came out to his own music. I know it's happened before, him coming out to a singles match and using his music, but he didn't have Titus Worldwide merch on. So Elias takes offense to this, takes off his microphone, his battery pack. He sets down his guitar, and he goes after Cruz, who enziguris him and then gorilla presses him for a long time. And I am ready for an Apollo Crews push. The Philadelphia crowd didn't react much, but man, I'm going to be honest with y'all. The air in that room was sucked straight out. Was right after the Battle Royal stuff. And Finn Balor and Jinder Mahal, are you kidding me? The women's segment, this was not a good show. Had I seen this live, I would have been a little angry. So I'm not too worried about Apollo Crews not getting a big reaction tonight, because I don't know what could have said. The biggest reactions of the night were Ronda Rousey using John Cena to get under Nikki Bella's skin. But yeah, sure. Apollo Crews, bring that one on, baby. If there's one guy who's overdue, it is that man. I was mentioning on Twitter, I feel like this is a great example. Mentioning on Twitter that a lot of folks have a tendency to confuse underappreciated and underrated. They'll say, this match is underrated, or they'll say this wrestler's underrated, but what they actually mean, what they're trying to say, especially when it comes to good matches or fantastic wrestlers who didn't necessarily get the push that they wanted, they'll say he's underrated. But Apollo Crews is not an underrated wrestler. Anyone who has seen him wrestle knows how fantastic and talented he is. He is underappreciated by WWE management and ergo by fans as well. But calling him underrated is doing him a great disservice, because he is very much respected for his talents. It's not the same thing. We get to our main event, the Groundhog Day match, the Shield versus the Dogs of War. It wasn't even their best encounter. It wasn't even as fun as what they did at even last Monday was fun. I thought the Super Showdown match was fun too. This was, well, I mean, it was fine. But it was fine. It's just they could have done something. There was some interesting storytelling happening throughout the match, though. Roman, for the better part of this match, is the babyface in peril. He gets DDT'd by Dolph. He's keeping the Dogs of War, keeping him away. Roman battles back, but Drew keeps him from reaching his pals. He knocks Drew down at some point, but Drew tags out to Braun, who comes in and gets back into control over Roman. And then Braun and Drew have a pissing contest as to, this is how you take care of business. While Roman is in their corner, they tag themselves in. So that was a cool little moment of storytelling. Roman hits a Samoan drop on Braun. Dolph and Drew knock Seth and Dean off the apron, so he still can't tag out. They hit the Claymore zigzag combination on Roman, and I was freaking out, but Seth and Dean break it up. I don't know, for some reason I thought this was it. That was the end. Roman finally gets the hot tag to Seth, and we're gonna put little air quotes around the hot, because the Philadelphia crowd is spent. They are done. They've checked out. There's even empty seats where there weren't empty seats at the start of the match. The start of the show, I should say. So Seth tags in Dean. They double team Drew. Toss Braun to the outside. They do the double dive on Dolph and Drew. Then they go to do the double dive on Braun, who catches them by their throats. Superman punch by Roman off the stairs onto Braun. Dean hits Dirty Deeds on Drew. Goes for the cover, but Dolph pushes Seth onto Ambrose, which breaks up the pin, and then, of course, generates another moment of argument between Dean and Seth. Dean gets fed up and tries to put Dirty Deeds on Seth, who pushes out, and man, they're about ready to go to blows. Dolph pushes Dean onto Seth, which sends him to the outside. Zigzag on Dean. Cover for 2. They set up Dean for the Claymore zigzag. But Roman comes in with Superman punches for everyone. Braun comes in, but hits the post very clumsily. You can see his hand just going to slap the top of the post. And then an accidental Claymore from Drew McIntyre on Braun, who goes to the outside. Spear on Drew by Roman Reigns, who rolls out of the ring. Dolph eats the shield bomb for the win. They walk up the ramp. Friends, buddies, everyone is cool. They're hugging. So again, to me, this means that the intrigue around Dean's will he won't he is done. I mean, there's not much more you can do. But we'll see next week. They'll probably drag this out some more. But we go back to the ring where the Dogs of War are. Braun comes into the ring. He starts staring down Drew. He stares down Dolph. He running power slams Dolph. But then Drew claymores Braun, not accidentally this time, and leaves. And he doesn't carry Dolph out. He leaves Dolph in there, and he walks down, or up the ramp, I should say. So this is actually interesting. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with this next week. But as it stands, this was a tedious episode of Raw. I was looking forward to it ending. Yeah, it was. We've seen better, folks. We deserve better as well. We can only hope that SmackDown 1000 tomorrow is going to provide something more entertaining. This was really, really rough to go through. And I had a better time talking to you about it than I actually thought I would, but it really felt great. I sort of got into a silly mood, and it just carried me the whole way, and I'm glad you guys stuck around to the end. I'm glad you were able to to tough it out. So thank you very much. Remember to follow me over on YouTube. You can find me at tinyurl.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. Follow me on Twitter at Mr. Warren Hayes. Join me tomorrow on Fightful.com immediately after SmackDown Live. I'll be joining Sean Ross Sapp and Alex Pulowski on the Fightful post SmackDown Live recap show. That'll be a lot of fun, and then I'll be doing my own recap show afterwards. So there you have it. We're going to wrap this one up, guys. I want to tell you something. Thank you very much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.